Hello and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box, where today I want to talk to you about one of my favorite vocalists and one of objectively the finest and most talented vocalists of all time. And this is Roberta Flack, who from an early age in the late 60s up to her retirement a couple years ago, took audiences the world over by storm with a powerful, emotive, and very flexible voice. There are some people who can project very well and whose voice sounds very pleasant to listen to, but to be able to navigate around the notes of the scale in elegance and style is a skill that only some of the top vocalists possess. And Roberta Flack possessed that to such a high and refined degree. And she appeared to possess it from a very early age, meaning that she was a natural. And singing is something that does present physical limitations. You can train your voice, you can improve your voice, but there are some people that simply aren't born with a voice that's going to make them a great singer. Of course, you can try to make yourself decent through training and practice, but there are some limitations. Someone who's 4 foot tall isn't going to be a great basketball player. For instance, it helps to have long arms to be a drummer, though it's not impossible with short arms to be a great drummer. The longer the fingers you have and the wider the span of the fingers in the hand, it helps to make you a great pianist. Rick Wakeman, for example, had a huge span of fingers. And that's what makes him such a great pianist. But when it comes to your journey into the world of Roberta Flack, I really think it was her second album that really started to make waves. And it's really where she came into her own. The first album was very good, which was just called First Take. But the second album had so many great collaborations in terms of the songwriters whose music she chose. For example, Do What You Gotta Do by Jimmy Webb. Nina Simone did another fine version of that, but Roberta's is just amazing. And for me, the highlight of the album is a song called Gone Away, which was co-written by three of the most important musicians in the 20th century. Donny Hathaway, a frequent collaborator with Roberta Flack, Leroy Hudson, great musician, songwriter, singer, and of course the inimitable, the wonderful Curtis Mayfield. And that song is just it's just magical. And she also does a great version of The Impossible Dream from the Man of La Mancha musical that was very popular at that time. And shortly thereafter, she did her first album that was a full-on collaboration with Donny Hathaway, and it was simply called Roberta Flack and Donny Hathaway. And again, absolutely perfect. The two of them just had such great chemistry together, and everything they did together over the time collaborating right up until Donny Hathaway's sad death. It was all really, really good stuff. Killing Me Softly became a very famous album and song. And of course, in the 90s, Lauryn Hill with the Fugees did a very famous cover of it, but it was Roberta Flack who made it famous in the first place. And then there's the Feel Like Making Love album, which in many ways is her most complete album. And this was from 1975. Wonderful musicians played on this album, as they frankly did on all of her albums. She was always surrounded by great musicians. Alphonse Mouzon, one of my absolutely favorite drummers, appears on this album, as does Joe Farrell. Just what a great saxophonist, even though he's playing oboe on this album, wouldn't you know? But really a great album from start to finish. Absolutely wonderful. And then she collaborated a few years later again with Donny Hathaway in terms of a memorial album to him. So that was sort of the final collaboration insofar as it used material that they had done together and made a new album out of it. And that, again, wonderful album. She continued to go from strength to strength in the 80s. She sort of modernized her sound with the times, if you will, but she continued to be an incredibly prominent singer. I'm the One from 1982 is probably most emblematic of that part of her career. And then she did another great collaboration with one of my favorite vocalists of all time, Peabo Bryson, in 83 with Born to Love. So there's so much to choose from. Um, I would say the 70s was her strongest decade for me, but Nothing she did was weak. She did some great stuff in the 80s into the 90s. And as I said, until a health condition sadly prohibited her from touring after 2022, she was active, touring and performing right up until very recently. She's a marvelous, marvelous talent. Shouldn't ever be overlooked. She did get her due, but I think she deserved even more. So check her out today. Like, subscribe. We will see you next time. Take care.